The phones we carry in our pockets today actually began with a single sentence spoken in a laboratory in 1876. So how did we get from that first sound to today's smartphones? Come on, let's take a look at the story of the telephone together. One of the turning points in this story was the patent Alexander Graham Bell received on March 7, 1876. Although Bell's patent, US 174465, was technically titled telegraphy, it opened the door to a completely different direction in the history of communication. The date is clearly visible in the patent records. It is considered one of the official starting markers of the telephone era. Just a few days after the patent, on March 10, 1876, that historic moment took place in a Boston laboratory. Bell called out to his assistant, Watson, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you." This sentence was not merely an experimental note, it marked the birth of modern voice communication. Records from the Library of Congress confirm this moment in detail in Bell's notebook. In its early years, the telephone was not in everyone's pocket the way it is today. First, telephone exchanges were established in cities. On January 28, 1878, the first commercial telephone exchange opened in New Haven, Connecticut, with only 21 subscribers. At the time, connections were not automatic. Lines were routed through a central point, and lines were matched one by one. This structure allowed the telephone to evolve from an individual device into a communication network. As time passed, telephones began entering homes, but operations were still largely handled by people. Then the idea of automation gained momentum. In 1996, the path was cleared for the wider adoption of the rotary dial. This was the foundation that allowed users to dial numbers without needing an operator. Even so, the transition did not happen overnight. The Bell system, the AT&T-controlled structure, began adopting dial telephones in 1919 because of cost advantages, and did so cautiously and gradually since users were accustomed to the old system. The telephone's physical form was also changing during these years. At first, there were wall-mounted devices made up of separate parts. Then desk telephones arrived, the handset became integrated, and designs grew simpler. The 1949 model was a major redesign. Then came another break. In 1963, push-button, touch-tone telephones entered the scene. According to Hagley sources, Bell Telephone launched the first commercial electronic push-button telephone service on November 18, 1963, in the Pennsylvania towns of Carnegie and Greensburg. Moreover, the first devices did not yet have the asterisk and hash keys we are used to today. They were added later. Britannica also confirms that push-button versions of the 1949 design entered use in 1963, and that modern keypads could generate either pulse or dual-tone, touch-tone signals. Then, the story got up from the desk and stepped into the street. The true beginning of the mobile phone, in the modern sense, came with Motorola's demonstration in New York on April 3, 1973. According to Motorola records, the company publicly introduced the Dynatac portable cellular phone prototype that day. That was the moment the telephone got up and moved. People began to think of the telephone not as an object tied to a location, but as a tool they could carry with them. But it took time for the prototype to become part of everyday life. On September 21, 1983, Motorola's Dynatac 8000X received FCC approval and went into history as the world's first commercial portable mobile phone. Motorola's own history page says this was made possible by more than 10 years of work and an investment of approximately $100 million. In other words, the mobile phone revolution was born not at once, but at the end of a long engineering marathon. Then, the transition from the analog era to the digital era began. On July 1, 1991, according to Ericsson's historical records, the GSM standard, 2G, was rolled out across many European countries in the same period. This was the step that made mobile communication not only portable, but also scalable and mass market. The foundations for services like better voice quality, roaming, and SMS were strengthened during this era. And shortly after that, something happened that seems ordinary today, but was revolutionary at the time: the first SMS. According to Vodafone records, the content of the first text message sent on December 3, 1992 was very simple: Merry Christmas. That small message became the beginning of a culture that would later transform the daily communication habits of billions of people. By then, the telephone was beginning to evolve beyond just being a talking device. An early sign of this shift was the IBM Simon. Sources from the Science Museum and the Computer History Museum show that the IBM Bell South Simon, released on August 16, 1994, is considered the first smartphone. Simon combined the functions of a telephone, personal organizer, fax machine, and pager in a single device. Moreover, it operated with a touchscreen and stylus. The app-like usage idea that feels normal to us today was first concretely realized in Simon. Still, the real mass market explosion of the smartphone came a bit later. When Apple introduced the iPhone on January 9, 2007, it presented the device not merely as a phone, but as a combination of a phone plus iPod plus internet communications device. Apple's announcement particularly emphasized the large multi-touch screen and a new finger-driven interface. That launch fundamentally changed how mobile devices were used. Right after that, the ecosystem war began. On September 23, 2008, the Android 1.0 SDK was announced. The Android developer blog stated in that same announcement that the Android device, T-Mobile G1, was arriving, and the Android Market beta would launch with it. The next step came quickly. On October 22, 2008, Android Market was launched for users. From that point on, the phone stopped being a device limited to the functions defined by the manufacturer. It became a living platform to which developers could continuously add new features. At the point we've reached today, the phone is no longer just a phone. The device in our pocket is a camera, a bank branch, a map, an office, a television, a game console, and even an identity verification tool. The scale of this transformation is clearly reflected in the numbers. According to the ITU, global mobile subscriptions reached 9.1 billion in 2024, exceeding the world's population. In other words, the phone is no longer a luxury. It is part of the infrastructure of global life. And the story is still not over. According to data from Ericsson's 2025 Mobility Report, 5G subscriptions are expected to exceed 2.9 billion by the end of 2025, representing about 1/3 of all mobile subscriptions. That means the first step Bell took in a laboratory has now become a vast ecosystem connecting billions of people simultaneously. What do you think was the biggest turning point in telephone history? Bell's invention, SMS, or the iPhone era? Write your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss together. If you enjoyed this kind of technology history, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for the next episode.